Welcome to Keep What You Earn, a show for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to scale and build enterprise value without making costly mistakes. I'm your host, Shannon. I'm a CFO and CPA who left a career serving Fortune 50 companies in Wall Street to help business owners just like you make life-changing wealth with your business. These episodes are meant to be super tactical and actionable, but please remember, consult your own financial professional before you implement anything you learn in this podcast. Now, if you'd be interested in working with us to do so, check out the show notes for more information about our company, Keep What You Earn Co. All right, let's start the show. Sometimes it's the littlest things that can make the biggest impact in your business over time. And sometimes these little leaks happen where opportunities sneak up to lose a lot of money, gain a lot of money, but through microtransactions, the little things that you barely notice, they do add up. And I'm not just talking about these tiny little office supplies expenses or your tiny personal expenses or meals and things like that. I'm talking about if you don't have a solid process to protect yourself from money leaking out, then you're really just opening up everything. It's like having all your possessions behind a closed door with no lock on them. You know, you're exposing yourself to risk. And by that, I mean, if you don't have a process to manage refunds, disputes, chargebacks, and all of that, even cancellations or things like that that affect you in your business when customers kind of F around, if you don't have a process to control that, to either prevent or to handle those types of things, then you are leaving so much money on the table. And this is a really important concept I want you to understand is if you sell a product or service where your customers, specifically, let's talk about disputes and chargebacks for a second. If you have a business where these are common, now it doesn't mean it has to be common for you, but it has to be common enough where if you've had a couple of them, or if you have a pattern where you lose them, a credit card dispute or a chargeback comes through and you're like, well, shoot, I'm probably going to lose this. Then we got to fix this because we have to fix the actual problem that is causing this, because I'm telling you, your transactions will get bigger. You're going to have more of these. You're going to be missing out on hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars if you don't button up this process to protect your money. And we're all about keep what you earn, right? So let's actually put that into practice by not losing it to refunds, chargebacks, and so on. So let's start here. If you have a dispute come through or a chargeback, what you need to do is you need to make sure you have a process to document everything and that you have a means of compiling evidence for the dispute transaction review. Now, what's going to happen depending on the company that you're dealing with, right? Depending if it's like the credit card or the merchant processor, if they come back to you and say, hey, the customer has disputed the charge and they want their money back. In a way, I want you to approach this as guilty until proven innocent, where you have the burden of proof to prove that they are a customer who willingly made this purchase, that they gave you money, that there's no reason that this is valid. You know, obviously, if it is valid, by the way, like it's okay. But in this case, I'm trying to explain what you should do if you're in the right in your mind and you need to overcome this dispute. So what you want to do is you want to have a sort of dispute response template or framework. Every time you respond to something like a chargeback or dispute, you should have a copy of the notification. Number one is a copy of the notification explaining the customer's reason for disputing the charge, which normally you will get some information on what they provided as the reason. Number two, you're going to want to write a narrative explaining what the transaction was, why that dispute is invalid, and how past behavior suggests that this doesn't make sense. So for example, we had a customer who disputed a product charge and they bought a $100 gift card and they bought a product, okay? They disputed the whole charge. Now, if you think about this, it's like, wait, they won a dispute over a gift card? Like, how did they unwillingly or like, how did that get validated? Well, because they disputed the whole check, the whole receipt. And our client, and this is, by the way, why I'm making this episode is because we learned a lot through this process, is our client did not have a great process to handle these. They relied on their point of sale system to go and to compile all the evidence because they do this. It's like a feature of the POS. But the problem is that when you rely on that alone, it's just not enough to win. It's enough to start the conversation, but it's not enough to win on its own. You do have to get involved and you do have to spend some time. And it is worth dedicating the time to get this right. So you want to make sure you are laying out in that narrative exactly what they purchased and why it wouldn't make sense for them to dispute this. You may also have maybe footage in your cameras of the person actually purchasing, leaving, being happy. You may have, evidence of past purchases of the same exact product or same service where they did not issue a dispute. And like I said, you have every reason to say, hey, there's no reason that they should even be disputing something like a gift card. They clearly purchased this. Like, why are we even debating this? But you also want to clearly state where the customer has been educated and informed on your policies and on their options.
Hey there, are you on LinkedIn? I love connecting with listeners and other professionals and business owners on that platform. I gotta say, I'm really enjoying it. So if we're not already connected, make sure you send me a connection request after this episode.
If they're dissatisfied. So, where a dispute or a chargeback is not the preferred approach. So, include a refund policy, include a picture of where your refund policy is published, or even a signature that your customer makes. This is top notch. If your customer has to sign your refund policy that says, hey, no refunds, and they signed it, that helps. I mean, it doesn't get you an immediate win, but it helps. And then any other evidence that you have showing they booked, they paid, they were happy, there was no indication of dissatisfaction, maybe even client surveys, anything you can show that just does not paint the picture that this was a dissatisfied customer and that this is something potentially malicious or somebody is just trying to either get greedy or overextend their ability to claw back that money. And as much as I don't want to paint this picture that people do this all the time, I have been in business long enough with small business owners dealing with customers who do this all the time. And it's disgusting, honestly, how much people try to take advantage of small businesses in general, but they don't realize that small businesses are really run by people in their own community and they try to take advantage by doing these types of things. Now, I'm not saying all disputes and chargebacks are invalid, but the vast majority that I have seen come through are small business clients, and call me a little biased. The vast majority, to me, are not really valid. They're really pushing the envelope here on trying to get a refund and trying to do a return when there's no return policies or no refund policies. It's not enough just to have these policies. It's not enough just to put them in writing. You have to also enforce them. And you have to make it known that you are not going to simply cave and bend if somebody issues a chargeback, that you're not just going to go, oh, okay, here you go. Like, you have to put up some type of a fight. And, credit card companies, merchant processors will notice these behaviors. If people are issuing chargebacks to you and you're consistently losing them, this just doesn't paint a good story for you in terms of the validity of these claims. Like, if everybody's lining up to buy your product, and then next thing you know, everybody's trying to dispute the charge and saying it was faulty. God forbid they all tell the same story and they say it's bad quality or it's faulty or I never meant to purchase this or whatever. Or God forbid they claim it's fraud, but everyone is telling the same story. Then that's a really tough thing to overcome because now you have a pattern, right? And now people aren't going to want to work with you. And by people, I mean institutions. I mean your software provider. I mean, they can increase your fees because you're a bigger risk, right? So you have to look at, and not to mention, by the way, the cost. Most of these platforms where you can actually do these dispute resolution types of things, most of these platforms charge you a fee for your evidence collection. So like if you use your POS system and you say, I want to collect all this evidence, not only does it cost you the cost of your time, but some of these are charging a fee as well to, produce this for you. So the best thing you can do to be responsible in your business, if you take credit cards or merchant processors, you want to have a very clear policy on what types of transactions you accept, what constitutes your refund policy, return policy, and how you handle these types of things and how disputes are managed, because this is just such an important thing. If you do accept these, please don't become a doormat. Please don't become somebody people can take advantage of. It's just not going to bode well for your business as you grow. Although these transactions may be small, few and far between, not very impactful in a material way, they could be. Add a 0 or 2 to that transaction. Now do you care? And that process should be the same no matter the type of transaction or the magnitude. Because if you can win a case for $100, you can also win a case for $10,000, because it's more about the evidence you have that suggests that you're in the right. So if you put a few reps in and you learn what a winning case looks like, it will produce a return for years and years and years for you, because you'll know how to structure these chargebacks as you grow, these chargeback responses. And it's a really important area in your business to not let leak, because as you grow, these will only get bigger. The opportunities will be bigger for your customers to take advantage. And these things might go unnoticed because you are just simply bigger, more activity, more zeros on your numbers. You may not notice some of these smaller things, but again, installing the process now will help prevent that in the future.
As you think about growing and scaling your business, it's important to focus on how your operating costs align with your profit and personal goals. Are you allocating your resources wisely? Are your expenses supporting growth, or are they holding you back? Building a sustainable and profitable business takes intentional budgeting and regular assessments of where your money's actually going. Now, with a power session, you can get personalized strategies to help your businesses thrive. Check out the show notes for more information on power sessions and how we can work with you to create the profit plan your business needs for a successful 2025.